everyone, welcome back to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 235 and today's topic is 삼복. Now, 삼복 is when people eat especially nutritious food to cool off in the summertime, especially during those very, very hot summer days. Now, in the past, a lot of Koreans would work out on the fields. The whole family would go out to work, and it would often be very difficult to do field work in the summer heat. So what they would do is take short breaks to cool off, and they would have carefully prepared nutritious meals, also to build stamina as well as to cool off. Some popular 삼복 dishes would be 삼계탕, as we know them as chicken broth soup with ginseng in it, and also grilled eel. That's 장어구이, right? So which of the 삼복 dishes do you enjoy having during the hottest days of the summer? We'll talk about that today. And as they say, we can all fight heat with heat or beat heat with heat. Okay, let's get started. Here is today's actual talk. I heard some friends talking about 삼복 yesterday. Do you know what this is?
I do. I mean, I think it goes back in the olden days where, when Korea often was sort of based around people working on the farms in the fields.
Okay.
And on the hottest days of the year in the summer, they needed a break. So in the stifling heat, you need a break from the sun.
Right.
So there was this sort of nutritional aspect of going out and having a really nice sort of meal to up their stamina and, take care of them for the next day when they could work in the fields.
So is it like kind of a holiday or something, or a celebration?
Well, it is now, isn't it? I mean, I don't think there's a lot of tradition behind it apart from the food now.
Okay.
But definitely it seems to be popular these days to eat sort of samgyetang, which is a chicken broth with ginseng inside it.
So something to kind of help you get through this really, really hot time of the year or something?
Yeah. Have you ever tried that, any of the foods?
I haven't eaten much of that. I was a vegetarian for a really long time, so I recently started eating meat.
Okay.
And some of the things I've tried, I don't really know what it is. I'm just kind of experimenting.
Well, I'm a really big fan of samgyetang. I think it's delicious. Really hearty meal. Not such a fan of the dog soup.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Have you ever tried it?
I haven't, I've got to be honest with you. I
Okay.
haven't. But, I mean, it's interesting how they have this system in Korea. I mean, some other countries we know, we sort of have more of a siesta system, don't we?
Right, and that's every day. That's the whole year. These hot countries like Spain or Greece and the Mediterranean, where it's hot all year long. People go home from work every day and have a little rest out of the sun, and then go back to work and finish at nighttime.
I think I like that system.
Yeah, I would not mind that. Mary and Eugene are talking about today's topic, which happens to be 삼복 once again. And they have mentioned foods that Koreans love to eat, especially during the hottest days of the summer. They also said that it's quite interesting to have really hot food. Not hot as in spicy, but sizzling hot. So hot food during the hottest days. So as I said, you can fight heat with heat, meaning you can fight heat. Beat off the heat by eating something really, really hot. Boiling hot, that is. Okay, let's take a look at the conversation then. Here we go. First of all, Mary begins by saying, I heard some friends talking about 삼복 yesterday. That is our topic for today. And then she asks, do you know what this is? This, of course, she is referring to 삼복. Do you know what 삼복 is? Eugene says, I do. I think it goes back. This means that it has originated a long time ago. It started a long time ago. It goes back to when Korea was sort of based around people working on the farms or in the fields, okay? So we could have people working on farms or in the fields, doing field work. And on the hottest days of the year in the summer, they needed a break. So on the hottest days of summer, on the hottest days of the summer season, meaning on those very sizzling hot days, the hottest days during a season, what would people do? Of course, Koreans, since families would often go out and work in the fields together, they needed what? They needed a break. They needed to take a rest, okay? Let's move on. And then he explains, so in the stifling heat, we went over this word. In other words, in the sizzling heat, you need a break from the sun. So there was this sort of nutritional aspect. Nutritional means what? If you say nutritional something, it means that it pertains to, it somehow relates to a healthy diet or healthy food, something very nutritious, okay? What they did was they went out and had a really nice meal to what? All in order to up their stamina. Okay, let's take a look at that. We see a star there. That's one of our patterns for today. To up something means to raise something or to increase something, to boost something, to bring something up. So he's saying what they did was they went out and had a really nice meal to up their stamina, meaning to bring up their stamina, to boost their stamina, and take care of them for the next day when they work in the fields. So they would have a lot of nutritious meals. Why? For the next day, they would have to work, once again, in the fields. Okay, you don't just work in the fields for one day. Usually you would do it every single day. And since it could be tiring to be working in the sun or under the hot sun, you would have to eat something very healthy and nutritious. That is exactly what he's talking about. Moving on. Now, Mary asks, so is it like a holiday or something, or is it a celebration? Eugene says, well, it is now, isn't it? Now meaning, I guess, nowadays, because not only do farmers have these very nutritious dishes, we all do, because it's hanbok, or we have these nutritious meals on the hottest days of the summer. So it's not exactly a holiday, definitely, but I guess it could be considered some sort of celebration. We don't party or celebrate the day, but people do go out to have certain meals on this day or on these days. He says, I mean, it definitely seems to be popular these days to eat samgyetang. Here we go. That is a popular dish people have during those hanbok days. And then he explains what samgyetang is, which is a chicken broth with ginseng in it. Okay, so what is a broth? We went over this word several times in the past as well. A broth, simply put, is a soup, S-O-U-P. It's a kind of soup, but usually, how do we make broth? We could put vegetables or any kind of meat in water and boil it, so it kind of thickens, okay? And that is what we call broth. So if you put chicken in water and boil it for a while, you will have chicken broth, okay? If you put, let's say, beef or any kind of meat in water and boil it, then you would end up with beef broth or pork broth, for example. Okay, so broth is simply soup, but he is explaining samgyetang as what? A type of soup with ginseng in it or inside it. Ginseng, we'll practice the pronunciation of that later on more. So she says, so something to help you get through this really, really hot time of the year. Get through something means what? To get through something could actually mean to walk through something or go through something, pass through, in other words. But in this case, it means to survive, okay? Finish something, complete something, or to get by, to survive something. So she's saying once again, so is it something to help you get through the hot time of the year, survive the hot days of the year? And Eugene says, yeah. Have you ever tried that or any of the foods? Any of the foods, meaning any of the various foods that people have during these very hot days of the summer. Of course, usually you wouldn't add an S to food, okay? But when you do add an S like foods, here we're talking about many different kinds of foods. Okay? Even fish. You would say, I had fish. You would not normally add an S, okay? But you could say fishes when you are referring to a variety of different kinds of fish, okay? So that's why he said food in this case. He's talking about the many different types of foods people have during these Hanbok days. So have you tried any of those foods? Well, Mary says, I haven't eaten much of that. Not much of it. Meaning she has tried maybe 1 or 2 dishes, but not too many of them. And she says, well, I was a vegetarian for a really long time, so I recently started eating meat. So she recently started to do what? Started eating meat. But before, she didn't eat meat. Why? Because she was a vegetarian. All right, here we go. I've tried, she doesn't know some of the things she's tried. I don't really know what it is. I'm just kind of experimenting. Okay. You could do experiments on things. You could do experiments with things. Here, she is saying, I am kind of experimenting, meaning I'm just trying the different kinds of foods. Means she's trying different kinds of dishes that people enjoy during these hot days, or different kinds of meat dishes, I guess. Okay? Moving on. Eugene says, well, I'm a really big fan of samgyetang. He is a very big fan of samgyetang, meaning he loves samgyetang. I think it's delicious. A really hearty meal. What is hearty? Okay, H-E-A-R-T with a Y. Hearty means healthful, nutritious, okay? Something that is very, very healthy, for example. I'm not such a fan of the dog soup though, okay? So he's mentioned what? He is a huge fan of samgyetang, okay, which is a really hearty dish or a hearty meal, but I'm not a really big fan of dog soup. Okay, some people really do enjoy having dog soup during the Hanbok days as well, right? Okay, so Mary says, dog soup? Yeah, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Ready for something? She's not prepared to try dog soup yet. So maybe she doesn't think it's appetizing. Maybe she doesn't want to experiment with it just yet. Maybe she will in the future because she's mentioned yet. If you say yet, you're saying you are not ready right now, but you could be, possibly could be in the future. Not yet, but maybe in the future she will try dog soup, okay? And then she asks, have you ever tried it? It meaning dog soup. Has Eugene tried it? Well, he says, I've got to be honest with you, meaning frankly speaking, honestly, I haven't. I haven't tried dog soup, he says. But I mean, it's interesting how they have this system in Korea. He says some other countries, we know, sort of have more of a siesta system. So he's talking about a system we go by in Korea. We're talking about having certain dishes, very nutritious and healthy dishes during those very hot summer days. And he says in some other countries, they have more of a siesta system, which is a totally different system. What is a siesta? You could call it just a siesta or a siesta system, but a siesta is, simply put, a rest or a nap that people usually take in the early afternoon, which would be the hottest hours of the day, especially in very hot countries. So what people would do is take breaks from work. They would often go home, maybe around noon, and then have a nutritious meal at home, take a nap, get some rest, and then return to work. That is what we call a siesta, okay? In this case, it's not a party, it's rather a rest or a nap, especially that's done in very hot countries. Let's move on. Mary says, right, and that's every day. Yes, siestas. They have it every day. That's the whole year round, all year round. She explains about siesta. These hot countries, like Spain or Greece and the Mediterranean, Pronunciation is Mediterranean, okay, where it's hot all year long. So people tend to have siestas in these countries or areas. What do people do? People go home from work every day and have a little rest. They take a rest out of the sun and then go back to work and finish, meaning finish work at nighttime. So she's given us every little detail of what people do in countries such as Spain or Greece or in the Mediterranean where it's very, very hot. We're talking about the siesta system once again. What do people do? People go home from work. It's like they take a short break. What do? They have a little rest or take a little rest. They have some really nutritious meals or a good meal at home, and they return to work. They go back to work and finish work when? At nighttime, sometime in the evening. Okay, moving on. Now here we go, Eugene's saying, I think I like that system. We're talking about the siesta system. And of course, Mary says, yeah, I would not mind that. I would not mind that, meaning I would like that myself as well. I wouldn't mind it. It means I would like that too. Okay, what do you think about the siesta system? Wouldn't it be nice to take a break from work, be able to go home every single day all year long, to take a nap or get some rest and then go back to work? I think it's a cool idea. Okay, let's take a listen to the conversation between Eugene and Mary once again.
I heard some friends talking about sambok yesterday. Do you know what this is?
I do. I mean, I think it goes back in the olden days where, when Korea often was sort of based around people working on the farms in the fields.
Okay.
And on the hottest days of the year in the summer, they needed a break. So in the stifling heat, you need a break from the sun.
Right.
So there was this sort of nutritional aspect of going out and having a really nice sort of meal to up their stamina and, take care of them for the next day when they could work in the fields.
So is it like kind of a holiday or something, or a celebration?
Well, it is now, isn't it? I mean, I don't think that there's a lot of tradition behind it apart from the food now.
Okay.
But definitely it seems to be popular these days to eat sort of samgyetang, which is a chicken broth with ginseng inside it.
So something to kind of help you get through this really, really hot time of the year or something?
Yeah. Have you ever tried that, any of the foods?
I haven't eaten much of that. I was a vegetarian for a really long time, so I recently started eating meat.
Okay.
And some of the things I've tried, I don't really know what it is. I'm just kind of experimenting.
Well, I'm a really big fan of samgyetang. I think it's delicious. Really hearty meal. Not such a fan of the dog soup.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Have you ever tried it?
I haven't, I've got to be honest with you. I
Okay.
haven't. But, I mean, it's interesting how they have this system in Korea. I mean, some other countries we know, we sort of have more of a siesta system, don't we?
Right, and that's every day. That's the whole year. These hot countries like Spain or Greece and the Mediterranean where it's hot all year long. People go home from work every day and have a little rest out of the sun and then go back to work and finish at nighttime.
I think I like that system.
Yeah, I would not mind that.
Here we go with actual expressions, everyone. Are you ready? Let's take a look at some vocab words first, as always. Here we go. Nutritional. Nutritional. The stress goes right there on trish. Nutritional means what? We're talking about something that is very good for our health. So some synonyms are balanced as we talk about a healthy diet. What is a healthy diet? A healthy diet is when you have a variety of healthy things. So nutritional can also mean balanced. It can also mean beneficial, meaning it's good for you, and healthful or healthy. What about broth? I told you that it is a kind of stock or a soup. So how would you make broth? You could put fish in water and boil it, and you will end up with fish broth. You could put chicken in water and boil it, and you'll have chicken broth. So broth is a kind of soup, also called stock. Okay? Ginseng, here we go. Pronunciation, that's ginseng. Stress goes right there on the first gin, so let's try it 3 times. Ginseng, ginseng. One more time. Ginseng. Good job. And hearty is what? Hearty, it means healthy, very nourishing. Okay, we talked about having a hearty meal. Moving on to siesta. Siesta, stress goes right there. Siesta. So the A, S-I-E-S-T-A, the A at the very end, it's more of a U sound. So it's not siesta, it's siesta. Siesta. One more time. Siesta. So it's kind of a rest or a nap that people usually take during the afternoon hours, the early afternoon hours, especially in very hot countries. Okay, now let's move on to the very first pattern of today. We talked about the hottest days of the year or the hottest days of the summer season. Now, have you heard of this term? Dog days. Dog days. I believe this comes from the star constellation. It's called Sirius, which is also known as the dog star. And I believe it's when, especially during the hottest season or the hottest days of the summer, this star shines the brightest. So it just tells us that it is very, very hot. So the hottest days of the summer are also called dog days or dog days of summer. Let's check out a sentence using dog days, okay? Even during the dog days of summer, this can be included or taken out. Even during the dog days of summer, department stores and coffee shops are cold. Yes, they turn on the air conditioning that it becomes very, very cold inside. So even during the hottest days of the summer or during the dog days, places like department stores and coffee shops tend to be very chilly, very cold. Let's move on to up something. We're talking about boosting something, increasing something, right? Raising something. Here we go. Let's turn on some music to up the mood. Okay? So you're saying let's turn on some music to up the mood, which means what? Let's turn on the music to raise the mood, boost the mood, to bring up the mood. It means, well, maybe it's a bit depressing here. We should brighten up the mood. Let's turn on some music to up the mood. Okay, moving on to our final pattern, to get through something. We're not talking about walking through something, as in to pass by something, but we're talking about finish, to complete something, especially to survive something. Here we go. I need to have a hearty breakfast. Hearty breakfast meaning what? A very healthy breakfast to get through the day. Okay, especially for those of you who must have breakfast to get through the day. You can say, you know what? I need to have a hearty breakfast, or I need to have breakfast to get through the day. I can't get by without having breakfast. Okay, that is all for today's actual expressions. Practice them more on your own.
Let me tell you about Sambok. Sambok are called the dog days of the summer. It's the 3 hottest days of the summer. Traditionally, in history, farmers would take a break from farming, go to the mountains, and relax in a nice, cool stream. These days, I don't think people do that anymore, but still, on the hottest days of the summer, you usually eat something hot, like chicken ginseng soup. That's a traditional thing that people eat, so you eat that on the hot day. Even though it's a hot day, you eat something hot. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's supposed to help the heat leave your body. In Korea, on the hottest days, the chicken ginseng soup restaurants are so full. There are so many people there, and sometimes people will even wait for hours just to get in. It's that good. When I first came to Korea, I didn't really understand the tradition. Why would you eat something hot on a hot day? But now I look forward to it. Not because I want heat to leave my body, but because it's so delicious.
Now, did you hear carefully? Whitney did say that Sambok is the dog days of the summer, which means the hottest days of the summer. Let's check out what else she's mentioned. Here we go. It's the 3 hottest days of the summer. The 3 hottest days of the summer. She, of course, is talking about 삼복. On the hottest days of the summer, you usually eat something hot. Like what? Such as chicken ginseng soup. We're talking about 삼계탕. Moving on. Now, what is 삼계탕 supposed to do? Well, chicken ginseng soup is supposed to help the heat leave your body. Okay? So I guess by having something really, really nutritious, like 삼계탕, it helps the heat, okay, the heat in your body leave your body. It helps the heat leave your body. And then moving on to our very final sentence. In Korea, on the hottest days, what happens? On the hottest days, the chicken ginseng soup restaurants, we're talking about 삼계탕 restaurants, well, they are so full, meaning they're crowded with customers. People all rush to these 삼계탕 restaurants during these 삼복 days. So this is what you can mention in the conversation about 삼복 in the future. Okay, that is a wrap. Job well done.
Let me tell you about 삼복. 삼복 are called the dog days of the summer. It's the 3 hottest days of the summer. Traditionally, in history, farmers would take a break from farming, go to the mountains, and relax in the nice, cool stream. These days, I don't think people do that anymore, but still, on the hottest days of the summer, you usually eat something hot, like chicken ginseng soup. That's the traditional thing that people eat. So you eat that on the hot day. Even though it's a hot day, you eat something hot. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's supposed to help the heat leave your body. In Korea, on the hottest days, the chicken ginseng soup restaurants are so full. There are so many people there, and sometimes people will even wait for hours just to get in. It's that good. When I first came to Korea, I didn't really understand the tradition. Why would you eat something hot on a hot day? But now I look forward to it. Not because I want heat to leave my body, but because it's so delicious.
Are you the type to go to these 삼계탕 restaurants or any sort of restaurant that specializes in really nutritious foods during these 삼복 days? As for me, I don't really go. I avoid going to these restaurants on these 삼복 days because they tend to be too crowded. What I usually try to do is I go out and get some chicken and make my own 삼계탕 at home. Yeah, I think it's better than going to a restaurant that's crowded because you often will have to wait in line for 30 minutes, even an hour. Okay, so today we talked about 삼복. We talked about the dog days of the summer season or the hottest days of the summer. Hope you learned a lot and have fun today, everyone. Next time, let's talk about something related to traveling. Are you planning to travel to any location sometime soon? We'll talk about plane ticketing, okay? Much more in detail. So please do tune in for that. In the meantime, come to our homepage, everyone. Come on over to www.ebse.co.kr and look for Actual English with Jennifer. You'll see our message board, so please do share your comments and feedback. I'll be joining you again next time with a great topic. Until then, take care and bye for now.